In this part, the teacher recaps theory, then he starts solving an example. The students will then be asked to solve a similar problem. This part is applying the concept of teaching for understanding. We would address the 6 facets of understanding.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're going to be solving problems on objects in equilibrium. But before we solve problems on objects in equilibrium, I'd like to talk about what happened last week, because last week we've covered a theory on objects in equilibrium. So can someone please explain to me the concept of an object in equilibrium?
An object is in equilibrium if the acceleration is 0 or constant.
Yes, thank you very much. For an object to be in equilibrium, it has to have a constant acceleration. Now, can you give me an example for an object to be in equilibrium, of an object that is in equilibrium?
You mean real life example?
Yes, real life example, please.
The chandelier?
Yes, a chandelier.
Yes.
Yes, a chandelier is definitely an object that is in equilibrium. Now, can you please identify the forces of the chandelier that is being held from a chain, right, from the ceiling?
The weight of the chandelier and the tension on the chain of chains that are holding it.
Thank you very much. Yes. If a chandelier is being held by one chain, then we would have two set of forces. We would have two forces. We would have the force of the tension in the chain of the chandelier, because the chain of the chandelier is pulling the chandelier upward toward the ceiling. And we would have the chandelier that is being pulled down by gravity, and so therefore we would only have two forces. Thank you for that example. Now, I have dedicated this class to do problems. Now, I am going to solve one problem, and then I'm going to ask you to solve a problem right after I solve this one. Now, I'm going to read out loud the problem. A load of 1,000 kilograms suspended from a ceiling by 2 cables. Determine the tensions T1 and T2 in the cables if the angle from the horizontal for the 2 cables is 30 degrees. Now, the first step for this type of problem is to draw the FBD, which is the free body diagram, in which you would identify the forces. So can someone in the class tell me how many forces we have in the FBD? Yes?
We have 3 forces.
Yes, thank you very much. We do have 3 forces. We have T1, so the tension in cable 1. We have T2, the tension in cable 2. And we have the weight of the load. The second step in this type of problem is to write down your set of equations. A set of equations in which you would identify the forces that we have. So the summation of the forces in the x direction and the summation of the forces in the y direction. Then we would use algebra in order to solve for T1 and T2. That is the tensions in the first cable and the second cable. Now I'm going to give you an exercise, and I want you to solve this one on your own. I'm going to be going around the class and see how you're doing. So, a frame is suspended from a ceiling with 2 ropes. Determine the tension in the second rope and the weight of the frame if the tension in the first rope is 55 newtons and the angle for the 2 ropes from the horizontal is 60 degrees. So you have 5 to 10 minutes to solve the problem. Okay, I can see that you have some trouble understanding the question and solving some parts of the problem. So, can you tell me what you understand from the problem statement?
We have an object of mass, a certain mass, and the this object is hanged from the ceiling by 2 ropes. That's it?
Yes, definitely. So we have 2 cables that are holding a load. So we have tensions in those 2 cables, and we have the load that's being pulled downward by gravity due to its weight. So can you tell me what is the first step? Can you walk me through the steps in order to solve the problem? What is the first step in order to solve the problem?
To write or to draw the free body diagram.
Yes,
Is this correct?
that is correct. The first step would be to draw the free body diagram in which you would identify your forces. Now, can you please tell me what is the second step in solving a problem?
By applying the equilibrium equation, summation of the forces in the x direction is equal to 0. Summation of the forces in the y direction is equal to 0.
Yes. The second step would be to write down the summation of the forces in the x direction and the summation of the forces in the y direction. Now, can you please tell me what would be the third step in solving the problem?
Solve the equations for the unknowns.
Yes, solve the equation. It would basically be using algebra in order to find the unknowns, and in this case, it would be the tensions in the ropes. Now, what do you now after that? Now that we have covered and we have completed this problem, can you please tell me if you still have some doubts or some trouble in applying the concept of an object in equilibrium?
I am okay with writing the equations. I don't have a problem in solving the equations, but I have a problem in identifying the forces on the body.
Okay, thank you very much for your comment. Well, for telling us what parts that you have a problem with, because I'm pretty sure that there are other students that have similar problems. Now, what we're going to do, I have decided to dedicate this class, as I said in the beginning of the class, I just dedicated this class to solve problems. So by the end of the class, you should be able to easily draw an FBD and write down the summation of the forces that are involved. So you should be able to, by the end of the class, you should be familiar doing that.
Now this is our request from the rest of the group. Can you give us your feedback by identifying the 6 facets of understanding in the instructor's performance?